So recently, I was thinking one day, what if I finally go out and beat Pokemon Emerald, but I do a bit of a challenge run and record it? But I didn't want to do a simple Nuzlocke or whatever the other ones are called. Then it came to me in a vision. Pokemon. But I can only use Pokemon decided by the random spin of a name wheel. Here's how it works. When you get to a new route or cave or dungeon, basically any new named area you can encounter wild Pokemon, you put all possible encounters onto a name wheel and spin it. So if I spin it and the wheel lands on Zigzagoon, I can only use Zigzagoon until I get another spin. Admittedly, this is similar to a Nuzlocke, but a key difference is that once the wheel has landed on a Pokemon, I can go catch that Pokemon anywhere and use it as many times as I want. So if that happened and I wanted a full Zigzagoon team, hey, it's fair play. Anyway, these spins go on throughout the game until I get to the last area I can spin for, and then I'll have a list of Pokemon that I can use, and all others are not allowed. Pretty simple. Now you could make this even harder, making it so if a Pokemon faints, it's gone forever, or you're not allowed to even use your starter. But I'm a pussy, so I didn't do that. As far as I can tell, I'm the first person to come up with this idea, so if anyone watching wants to do a challenge run like this and make it harder, you can add rules like that or whatever rules you want. And since I came up with it, I guess I'll call it, let's go with a spin log. So anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. We started off in the back of a van as I hold down the spacebar to speed up gameplay on the emulator because I don't want to sit through an hour of dialogue I've seen 100 times. For some reason I've named myself Munch. Anyway, I get out of the back of the child endangerment van and speed through learning how to set up a clock. And then I go and meet my neighbor until I see Professor Birch being chased by a Zigzagoon. Now comes our very first wheel spin. This one's for a starter.
I just want to show we got Mudkip. It landed on Mudkip.
So the wheel landed on Mudkip and I added it to my team of usable Pokemon. I beat the shit out of Zigzagoon and Birch let me name Mudkip.
No, I have a better name. Queef.
Don't ask what goes on up there. I don't know either. Then Birch harassed me about this weirdo kid.
No, I don't think it would be a good idea. No, I don't want to meet her. No, I'm not gonna go meet her. Dude, stop trying to get me to meet your child. I don't care. I don't know who they are.
So I begrudgingly accepted and began my adventure. So I stepped onto Route 101 and wait! It's time to spin the wheel, baby.
Spin the wheel, baby. Let's go. Okay, I can only catch Wurmple. That's great. That's exactly what I wanted, actually.
But then I remembered that I don't have Pokeballs yet, so I moved on to Route 103, where I didn't bother spinning because it's the same encounters and I was lazy, and I don't really want any of the other options. I quickly took care of May in our very first rival battle, then headed home to grab the Pokedex and some running shoes. Then I was ready to head out to the first gym, but first I grabbed some Pokeballs and caught a Wurmple and delicately named it Sausage.
What do I name him? Is that how you spell sausage? I need to check. I don't... Okay, that's how you spell sausage. Sausage. I'm not stupid. I know how to spell.
I specifically caught a male Wurmple because I thought Dustox would be a more useful Pokemon, at least in the early game. Anyway, off I went to Route 102 in a very important spin. You see, Route 102 has Routes, Lotad, and Seedot, all of which are very useful options due to their final evolution. But the wheel...
Okay. Here we go. Moment of truth. The moment of truth. My eyes are closed. Ah! No! No!
Had other plans. The game then taunted me by having a Poochyena be the first Pokemon I ran into on the route. Painfully moving on, I began grinding both Sausage and Queef as I moved along the route. I arrived in Petalburg City where Wally taught me how to catch a Pokemon and taunted me further by catching a Routes immediately. After dealing with that and my dad, it was time for another spin on Route 104.
Okay. Let's see. What are we getting? Okay! Okay, I'll take it! I'll take a Meryl. Wait! My starter's a water type.
So yeah, that ended up being a useless spin, but I pressed on towards Petalburg Woods. But then...
What?! He's evolving! Got a Cascoon. Dude, Sausage learned Harden? That's wait a second. That was not planned. I didn't That wasn't planned. I didn't name it that with like, oh, it's gonna learn Harden, it'll be funny. I didn't even
Anyway, I spun the wheel yet again for Petalburg Woods, which could be important since it has Slack Off, but this time it landed on Shroomish. This was actually great as I was running out of chances to secure access to a good grass-type Pokemon, and Breloom is not a bad choice for a team, so I picked up a Shroomish and named it Urethra. Why? No reason. I quickly dealt with Team Aqua and moved on to Rustboro City, but I couldn't do the gym yet because I had to go save Pico the bird, but he was up on Route 116, so time for another spin. This time it landed on Whismur. So I picked up a Whismur and I named it Peak because Whismur is Peak. Then I took care of the Devon papers and saved Pico. I talked with the Devoncourt people. It was really a snooze fest, but hey, I got a Pokénav out of it. This statement would actually come back to haunt me because as I was playing, I would get calls from random people the entire game, while I was grinding, while I was playing, in the middle of a gym. They wouldn't stop calling me, and I couldn't turn it off. I couldn't block their number. Finally, it was time to take on the first gym with my team of Queef, Peak, Sausage, and Urethra. What a team. It was pretty anticlimactic, because Queef could just sweep her whole team with Water Gun. But Queef evolved into Marshtomp, and Sausage evolved into Dustox, so after that it was time to take the boat to Dewford, and then go spelunking for Steven in a cave before I could go take on the gym leader Brawly. But hey, this cave is a new encounter area, so it's time for another spin.
We've got our thing. There's only one problem, is that if it lands on Nose Pass, I can't get it right now because you can only get Nose Pass from smashing rocks. I would take Aaron though. I think Aaron would be really good to land on. I would also take Makuhita. I guess Abra if I could catch one. I don't really want a Geodude or a Zubat. Let's spin. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? No way. Oh my god, no way. Yes! Oh my god, that's exactly what I wanted.
Somehow I got really lucky here and landed Aeron, so I caught one and named it Sexist because I don't really know. The Aeron I caught just seemed like a sexist to me. I don't know, look at those eyes. So I talked to Steven, blah, 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 and it was time to fight Brawly with my incredible team of Urethra, Queef, Sexist, Sausage, and Peak. This was going to be harder, as there was a decent jump in levels for such a short period of time, and I had no strengths against fighting types, aside from my Dustox gamble paying off because Sausage learned Confusion, which proved to be very useful. I started off with Urethra who died, but paralyzed a Machop, which was swiftly taken out by Sausage's Confusion. I then switched into Queef to spam Mudshot to take out the Metatite and Makuhita, and ended up making the fight very easy. Well, after that, it was off to Slateport City, where I noticed all my Pokemon but Queef were kinda underleveled, so at first I was going to use Nuzlocke rules and use rare candies so I don't have to grind, and then cap myself to match the highest level of the next important fight, which was notoriously the hard second May fight below the bike bridge. But I could get the rare candy mod to work, no matter how hard I tried or what I did or how many times I googled it, so I gave up, and I, definitely not my friend, spent some time to grind everyone up to level 22 to match May's Grovyle. I later found out that May's Ace is actually level 20, but they're level 22 through grinding instead of rare candies, so I think that's okay in my book. Oh yeah, this means Peak evolved since he reached level 20. After that, I had a little in-game volume situation.
Well, why is it so loud? Maybe I turned it up. It's not even that. I could make it fucking louder. I can make it way louder. Oh my god.
But then it was time to spin for Route 110. This is another interesting spin, as I can get Electrike, which would give me access to a great electric-type Pokemon that would be very useful.
Alright, here we go. Going back into it. Here we go, we're gonna spin. Here's the spin. Route 110. Here we go. I'm scared. Oh no! Oh no!
So off I went to fight May in one of the hardest rival battles. I did not pay attention and had Queef out first against the Wingles, so I switched into Urethra, got off one Mega Drain, then was caught in a Confusion trap and died. So out came Sausage, who was able to dispatch the Wingle with a Confusion and a Poison Sting. Then, Queef was able to take care of her Slugma with a single Mudshot, Last up was Grovyle, which, since I didn't have any fire types, I knew wasn't going to be easy. Luckily, Sausage knew Poison Sting, so even though it was a low damage move, it was my best hope. The Pokemon gods must have blessed me because I landed a crit, then one more Poison Sting did the job. So then I made my way up to Mauville City, where Wally wanted to fight me, and then I OHKO'd his routes in a single mud shot. Wow, Wally, you're kind of a bitch, huh? Anyway, I quickly spun for Route 117 to the west of Mauville.
Route 117. I don't even know if I necessarily want any of these. I don't want Illumis. I don't know if I want Illumis. Do I have any use for Illumis? I'm good. I'm good, man.
So, with nothing of interest there, I went back and took on the third gym. On the way to Wattson, Urethra evolved.
Whoa! Whoa! I don't know if that's safe. Oh my god.
Yeah, that joke was also unintentional. I don't know how this keeps happening. So now it was time to fight Wattson, and I led with Sexist.
Hit him with the mud slap. Wait, did he use Explode? Did he just use Explode and it do 7 damage to me? What the hell?
Yeah, so I actually did not know that. Wattson was pretty easy. Sexist took care of Electrike until Wattson used a potion and then Sexist died. But Queef then swept the entire rest of Watson's team. After that, I made a mind-numbingly boring trek over to where Wally is to say hi and break the rocks inside the cave, except I didn't have an HM slave to use Rock Smash, and I knew I'd need one for the next route too. So I figured I'd go catch a Zigzagoon since I spun it on the previous route, except I kept getting wild encounters and no Zigzagoon. And then I checked and I may have made a teensy mistake. There's no Zigzagoon on that route, so I did a respin.
We gotta redo the spin for this route, because I fucked it up. Gulpin.
Which I went and caught and named D's, because of course, but it can't learn Rock Smash, and I didn't see a huge use for Swalot, so I decided to teach Rock Smash to Peak, who broke the rocks in Resturf Tunnel and on Route 111. Speaking of Route 111, it was time for another spin. This one had some big implications though, since this route's desert has Trapinch, which evolves into Flygon. However, the game curses me again because I landed on Geodude, who can only be found by breaking rocks with Rock Smash. Anyway, and then dealt with that fighting family before moving on past Route 111 to 112, where another big spin came up, because I could either get a Numel, a good fire ground type when evolved into Camerupt, or Meryl, which I already rolled earlier in the run.
Oh, this is scary. Oh, I'm so scared. Oh my god. Give me Numel. I want Numel. Meryl's useless. My eyes are closed. My eyes are closed. My eyes are closed. Don't tell me what it is. No, no!
Yeah, so that sucks, but it's okay, because next up was a cave called Fiery Path with another chance at a fire type.
Big spin. Fiery Path. Fiery Path. Fiery Path. Stay. No, don't go to Torkoal. Yes. Stop. Yay!
I got a useful fire type. It's not Numa, but I will take a Slugma. So I caught a Slugma and named it Balls, because, well, you know. Anyway, from there I made my way out of the cave and the rest of the way up to Route 112 to 113, where I did another spin, with not much on the line, and I landed a Spinda. Cool, I guess, but not too useful, so I moved on and made it to Fall Arbor Town. After healing up, I moved down the potentially important spin on Route 114. Here you can catch Swablu, which would be incredibly useful as a dragon flying type once it's evolved into Altaria. Making it worse, this was the only route that Swablu appears on. But how did the spin go? I got Lombre. I didn't need a Trapinch in a Swablu anyway. Yeah, I have Meteor Falls anyway. Yeah, speaking of which, after moving through 114, I made it into Meteor Falls for another very important spin, because Bagon can be found here, who later evolves into Salamence. So how did that spin go? Well, I fucked it up the first time because I forgot to include Zubat. So I had a second chance to get Bagon, and...
No way, stay, stop!
Yeah, the wheel hates me. I didn't get any of the 3 dragon types you can find in the game. But whatever, I move on. But It turns out I was wrong, as on the other side of the Meteor Falls on Route 115 there was a rare chance to find Swablu, but the wheel gave me Taylor. Which, like, I guess that's fine. Now I have an HM slave for Fly, so I caught a Tailo and named it Fly, naturally. So moving on, I went back to Mount Chimney and took the cable car up to fight Team Magma on top of the mountain. They were an easy fight, honestly. Maxie went down with very few issues, other than a very annoying Zubat, who stalled for 10 turns before Sexist eventually killed it. Anyway, from there it was off to Language Town to take on Flannery. On the way down the mountain, I got a spin for a Jagged Pass, which could have given me access to Spoink and a Psychic type, but the wheel landed on Machop, so on I went. We've made the 4th gym pretty easy, taking out Flannery's Numal and Camera, while Balls took out her Slugma. Torkoal was a bit harder as a high damage roll overheat, plus the accumulated damage of XP farming with Balls had we faint. And I came pretty close to whiting out, but Urethra was able to use Mach Punch to finish it off. So I beat Flannery, and it was time to head back to Petalburg to take on my dad. This gym is one of the hardest in the game, so I was a little scared, but after clearing the trainers, it was time to fight normal. I was able to use Balls to get a lucky burn on the Spinda, and have Queef finish it off. Then Urethra took care of his Vigoroth. For his Lanoon, I switched into Sexist to take a hit so I could heal Urethra. But then he used Belly Drums, so I set up Iron Defenses and Mud Slaps to lower the Lanoon's accuracy, and in doing so, Sexist's chip damage got Norman to waste all of his healing items before his ace came out. Thankfully, Sexist was barely able to hold on with the setup to take out the Lanoon. Finally, out came Slacking, his ace. So I sent out Urethra, who was my best bet as a fighting type. Slacking used Yawn and put Urethra to sleep as I tried to take it out with Mach Punch. Then I used Peek as a meat shield to waste Slacking's movement turn, because if you don't know, Slacking is a big tank that hits hard, but his ability makes it so that Slacking can only use a move every other turn, so I get a free move in between when he's loafing around like a lazy bum. I used this turn to put out Sexist and use a Lava Cookie to wake up Urethra. I then switched into Sausage to be a meat shield, but the Slack-Off used Feint Attack, so I was able to get a free hit off on it. And then I used Confusion, which ended up actually confusing the Slacking. I then decided to be a really annoying bitch for a few turns and switched between using Protect on its attacking turns and Confusion on its loafing turns. But since I knew Sausage wasn't going to be in the final team, I wanted the XP from this to go to someone else, so I eventually let Sausage take a hit and die so I could switch into Sexist and set up Iron Defense on its loafing turns and do chip damage, which worked out and Slack-Off was down. I did it. I beat up my dad. Wait, I didn't have time to think about that. Now that I had surfed, it was time to head to Fort Tree City. I went back up to Mauville and surfed across the strait to the east of the city after teaching it to Queef. Then a friendly fisherman gave me a good rod. At this point, I made an important decision. Now that I can surf and fish, I decided that for the new areas, I should add not only all the Pokemon to be found walking around, but also all the Pokemon found by surfing and fishing. Statistically, this would make everything worse, because now it would be harder to get the Pokemon I want, but I thrive off of chaos, so I did it anyway. Back to the run, on the other side of the water there was the convergence of both Route 119 and 123, so I spun for both. There were a lot of Pokemon for 119, including a Feebas, but the wheel landed on Magikarp. And for a little while I was debating whether to get one for Gyarados, but I eventually decided not to, in order to prioritize other Pokemon types. Anyway, the Route 123 spin was, well, uneventful. But you can watch me realize my mistake in real time.
Ooh, this might not have been the greatest decision, because if I want, like, Shuppet, I am fucked. There's no way I'm getting Shuppet. I made this way harder for myself. I do get Oddish, though, if I need a Vileplume, but I don't. I have Breloom.
I then found some old grandma's house who wanted a new catchphrase.
Babe mode. I'm in babe mode right now. I'm in babe mode.
I made my way up Route 119 to the Weather Institute where Team Aqua was causing problems, so I went inside and started beating them all up. But as I was doing that, something funny happened since I was mostly holding down the fast forward button while battling through them.
Okay, I'm gonna be really honest. I have no idea how did I get here? How did I get here? I don't.
Well, after that, I took out the Team Aqua commander and went to leave.
Alright, well that... Why is that funny to me?
Okay, back on track, for real. I fought and beat up May again across the bridge when Sexist finally evolved. and then I arrived in Fortree City. I had to quickly head to Route 120 first though, so it was time for another spin. This route was interesting as it's the only route with Absol, but the odds of getting it after the decision to add the surf and fish Pokemon were not in my favor. Anyway, I continued down to the bridge where Steven gave me this magical device to let me see invisible things like Kecleon. So I went back up to Fortree and used it to get into the gym. I had a small problem here though because this is a flying type gym, and well, Queef and Urethra are both weak to flying, and Sexus is a rock type, but for some reason didn't know any rock type moves. And Peak and Sausage haven't been touched since before the 3rd gym, and we're only still at level 22, and Balls was just a neutral. On top of this, the wheel has refused to give me any Pokemon that would be useful here like Manectric. Luckily, I had the TM for Rock Tomb and taught that to Sexist, even though it only does 50 damage, but it's better than nothing. So I took on all the trainers in the gym and something funny happened.
What?
It's literally that joke where someone has the super elaborate power-up animation for an attack, and then it does, like, no damage. Anyway, it was time to face Winona. First time I fought her, I got really bad luck, so I did a soft reset. And in my attempt after that, I whited out. So I went back and tried again by banging my head against a wall. So I whited again, but god damn it, if I can't win via brute force, then I didn't try at all. So there I went for my 4th attempt. Balls came out first and missed Smog twice, then finally hit, but was caught in Perish Song in the process, so I knew I would have to switch soon or Balls would faint. I went for another Smog, and so did the Swablu, and I ended up getting poisoned as my Perish Song count fell to 1. So I switched out Balls to Peak, and Winona switched to Pelipper, so I spammed Rock Smash hoping to do critical damage, but the Pelipper pulled off 2 Protects in a row. Then Rock Smash did like no damage to Pelipper, and it took out Peak. I brought out Sausage who used Poison Sting and managed to poison the Pelipper. I then switched into Peak who used a Surf and got the Pelipper to yellow, but then Winona countered to Tropius. I countered back into Balls, who barely survived a Solar Beam and hit an Ember but then died to Poison. Sausage came out to use Poison Sting, but the Tropius used Synthesis to gain more health. I then spammed Poison Sting until the Tropius got poisoned. I then turnstalled with Protect so the Poison could do some damage before the Tropius killed Sausage. Then out came Urethra, where counter was useful for its first and only time this run, as Tropius healed up and then hit an Aerial Ace. But since Urethra is a fighting type, it was super effective, and Urethra survived, so the counter was able to take out Tropius in 1 hit. Swablu came back out and Urethra got off 1 Mach Punch before falling to it. I then brought out Queef to use Surf, as Winona healed the Swablu, but 2 more Surfs took care of it. Before it died though, it got off another Perish Song, and since Winona switched into the weak and poison Pelipper, I was hoping to get off a Surf to take it out before the Perish counter fell to 0, but Pelipper confused Queef and she hit herself in confusion, so I had to switch her out for Sexus. Luckily, Pelipper was just inside of poison death range and Sexus didn't have to do anything, as Pelipper died immediately after saying Sexist. Maybe the Pelipper was allergic to sexism or something, I don't know. Then out came Altaria, Winona's ace.
Oh! Oh, yes! Oh my god. Oh my god. Yes, a crit.
I don't know why the luck gods decided to bless me then of all times, but it was at my greatest moment of need, and I could not be more thankful. But I did it. After banging my head against the wall, I defeated Winona and...
Yes! I thought Winona was gonna be... Oh. There's another Pokemon.
I forgot about Skarmory. Worse yet, Rock Tomb didn't do too much damage due to Skarmory's steel typing, so I did the only thing I knew how. I set up. I started spamming iron defenses so there was nothing Skarmory could do to me. All the while, Skarmory was lowering my accuracy into the ground, and I couldn't even do the same back due to its flying type preventing Mudslap from hitting. I healed up Sexist a little, and luckily the iron defenses were paying off, as Steel Wing did literally like 5 HP. Sexist's accuracy was as low as it could possibly go though, so I just decided to spam Rock Tomb and hoped I would get enough hits to eventually take out the Skarmory. Luckily, on one of my hits, I got a crit and forced Winona to use her last potion. I was on 17 HP with no more healing items, and Rock Tomb was all out of PP. All I had left was Iron Tail, which only has a 70% hit rate on top of my decreased accuracy. Somehow, the Iron Tail landed and crit Skarmory, bringing it down to half. But I was weak, and Iron Tail kept missing after that, and eventually Sexist fell. All that was left was Queef, who was weak to Skarmory's flying type moves. Out came Queef, who was faster and hit a Surf, bringing the Skarmory down to red. But it landed an Aerial Ace that Queef somehow survived. One last Surf from Queef and that was it. Winona was defeated, barely. After this harrowing battle, I had to make a very hard decision.
I don't want to, but Peak, I think I'm gonna have to retire you to the PC, man. I gotta retire you. You're gonna go in the special category of box 14 now.
I will forever miss you, Peak. You will live on in my heart. I replaced him with Talo for the time being so I could teach it Fly to get around quickly. I then proceeded down Route 120 and made it to Route 121 for another spin. This would be yet another important spin since it's the first area you can get Shuppet, and I need some variety in my team, and would happily accept a ghost type.
I would really like Shuppet. Because it's... a ghost type would not be bad to add to the team. Another Oddish. Are you fucking kidding me? Oddish again.
And another spin that did not change my plans at all. I was debating whether or not it would be legal to count in the run at first, since it's got a lot of rare Pokemon, including Teddiursa, Mareep, Phanpy, Natu, and more. In the end, I decided to put every single Pokemon found in every zone of the Safari Zone onto the wheel and do a massive spin. Easily the biggest of the run.
How many? There's 36 entries. So, here we go. Oh my god. Are you kidding me? Look how close I was!
Another gut-wrenching spin, classic name wheel. Soon after this, as I was progressing on the route, Queef evolved into Swampert though, so guess that's not all bad. Anyway, I made it to Lily Cove City. From there I decided to heal up, then head to Mount Pyre. Once I got there, it was time for another spin. This one was very intense, as interesting ghost types like Shuppet, Chimecho, and Duskull were on the line, but Wingull and Vulpix, found on the outside of Mount Pyre, threatened to ruin it.
Oh god. I don't even want to look. That's not terrible. I will do it. I will take it.
I will take what I can get. I went around and caught a Duskull.
I think that's a fitting name. Don't ask me why. I have no idea. Left foot.
I think this might be my favorite Pokemon name yet. I took care of business on Mount Pyre and kicked out Team Aqua as they ran away with the red orb. The old couple gave me a Magma emblem though, and that was nice of them. After that I went through the tower inside Mount Pyre and headed back to Lily Cove. There I sadly had to retire Sausage.
God bless you, Sausage. But I'm gonna have to retire you to the PC. I'll miss you, Sausage. Goodbye!
With a heavy heart, it was time to go to the last rival battle with May, also known as one of the hardest rival battles. After a first attempt where I was on autopilot, the real attempt started. Balls made quick work of her Tropius and then poisoned her Slugma. Then Sextus switched in and took out the Slugma. I switched back to Balls for a Grovyle and was able to take it out with Balls' newly learned Flamethrower. Then she sent out Pelipper, who I had left foot fuse. Then I switched back into Sextus, who was able to take it out with a couple Rock Tombs. And just like that, May was defeated for the final time. After that, I spent a little bit of time shopping the department store before heading out. I went back down past Mount Pyre and down Route 123, then up to Mount Chimney and back the Jagged Pass to enter the Magma hideout.
Where does the Magma emblem open? Do you know where? Because I have not. You might not believe this, but I've never actually. Oh.
It's right there.
Oh.
Time for another spin.
Magma hideout. I don't really find any of them useful, but I'll spin anyway. Graveler! I rolled Geodude for the route above Mauville, so that's like the same thing.
Anyways, I dealt with the Magma hideout pretty quickly and made my way into the final room. So Maxie is an idiot and used the blue orb to wake up Groudon, and then he ran off, and then Maxie blamed me and decided to fight. Queef took care of Mightyena, and Sextus took down Crobat, and Queef came back out to take out the camera. Very easy fight, really. Next, I made my way to Slateport to be a witness to a submarine robbery. I then went back up to Lily Cove to enter the Team Aqua hideout. I fought my way through them and found a Master Ball in the process, but made it to the end just too late, as Archie escaped with the submarine into the ocean looking for Kyogre. I said, well, not my problem, and continued on to Moss Deep City. While I was messing around on Route 124 and 125, Left Foot evolved. I spun for 124 and included the Pokemon found during dive. It was an uneventful roll, and I landed on Clamperl, which is fun, but not a Pokemon that can fit into my team. So I moved on to Moss Deep City. Near Moss Deep City, though, on Route 125 is the Shoal Cave, which has ice types, a typing that's strong against both flying and dragon and would be extremely useful. The cave notably has Spheal and Snorunt, so this roll would likely be extremely important.
I really want Spheal. Spheal would be so nice right now.
Alright, who do we got?
Oh God! Please be Spheal. I mean, I'll take Snow Runt. But I want Spheal. Okay, here we go. Spin. Oh my God! Okay. I'll take Snow Runt.
I will take an ice type. Unfortunately though, Snorunt is only accessible in the ice room of Shoal Cave, which you can only get to during low tide, and it was high tide. So I decided to head back to Moss Deep to fight the gym. The gym itself wasn't too hard, but Tate and Liza, the gym leaders, were. I failed to beat them a few times, so out of frustration, I did a mini grinding session to get everyone up a handful of levels. In that time, it became low tide, so I went back to Shoal Cave and worked my way down to the ice room, where I found and caught a Snorunt. I named it Head. That name will make sense once it evolves, I promise. Then I went back to Moss Deep to take on Tate and Liza for real this time. Fun thing about this gym is that its gimmick is double battles. So for this one, I led with Queef and Left Foot. Left Foot used Shadow Ball and took out the Xatu instantly, while Queef's Surf started to whittle down the tanky Claydol. Another Surf brought Claydol into red and the Soul Rock down to half, while a Shadow Ball finished off the Claydol. All that was left was their aces Soul Rock and Lunatone. Luckily, they were dual Rock and Psychic, so I had Queef use Surf again, who crit the Lunatone and brought Soul Rock into red. Soul Rock then landed a Solar Beam taking out Queef, but Left Foot's Shadow Ball finished it off. I brought out Urethra to replace Queef since even though it's weak to Psychic type moves, their dual Rock typing means the fighting type moves will still be effective. I got another Stroke of Luck though, as Lunatone's Berry healed it out of red, meaning Tate and Liza wouldn't be using a potion on it. Urethra then used Mach Punch to guarantee going first and was able to take out the Lunatone. Tate and Liza gave me the 7th gym badge and the ability to use the HM Dive, so it was time to head off to Sutopolis City. First things first though, I did spins for the rest of the big ocean routes to hopefully get a Pokemon that can use Dive so I don't have to teach it to Queef. This is because the only way to get into Sutopolis and the undersea cavern is with Dive. I landed Pelipper, Whelmer, and Magikarp. The other two were not important, but I knew Whelmer could use Dive, so I was pretty happy with that. So then I spent what felt like an hour fishing trying to get a Whalmer since it was only encounterable via fishing, but eventually I finally found one and caught it. I then quickly went to the space station in Moss Deep, where me and Steven double-teamed and took on Maxie and slapped some sense into him, and he realized what he was doing was totally insane and probably a war crime, and decided to help us out and told us what Team Aqua's plans were. Then I quickly used Dive to get into Sutopolis and healed up my Pokémon at the Pokémon Center, so I could easily fly back into the city later. Then I went back out into the ocean and dove into the seafloor cavern. I definitely did not forget where it was, and definitely did not roam around for 10 minutes looking for it. Anyway, a handful of aqua grunts and some caves spelunking later, and I came to the hardest puzzle made for 10-year-olds. I literally pulled out the MS Paint just to plan in advance.
I need to get these rocks here, and this rock here, so I can push these two up here, this one into this gap, and go through. So I have to start with this one. Incredibly genius plan here. So then, yep, boom.
After that brain teaser, I went into the final chamber and fought Archie. Just like Maxie, he was sort of a pushover, and Urethra and Sextus dealt with him pretty easily. Then in frustration, he used the red orb to awaken Kyogre. Kyogre saw Archie's ugly-ass fashion sense and dipped real fast. Maxie then showed up and chewed out Archie and told us to go outside to see what Archie has caused. Archie clearly needs to touch grass anyway. So I returned to the surface and the weather was going crazy. It was raining, and then sunning, and then raining, and then sunning. Maxie and Archie took responsibility for their whoopsies and headed off to Sutopolis, where I was told to go to the Cave of Origin. There I was told by Wallace that I needed to go find some bitch named Rayquaza at Sky Pillar. So I sailed down and around to Pacific Log Town to heal, and then go up to Sky Pillar. Now this is where things get really interesting. I was going to spin for Sky Pillar, but then I realized technically Rayquaza is an encounter in Sky Pillar. I don't usually use legendaries on my team when I play Pokemon games, but I feel like this was a fun and interesting way to include a chance at getting to use them in a run like this. So I slapped Rayquaza on the wheel and spun.
I guess let's spin the wheel. Oh no. Well, that was anticlimactic.
I went up to the top of Sky Pillar and saw a big green snake. I must have been really ugly because then it flew off. I flew back to Sutopolis and watched the coldest cutscene in all of Pokemon. After Rayquaza did his job and dipped, I said, well, time to do the final gym! Despite the ice theming, this gym is actually water type, so it would be an interesting fight. As usual, the puzzles are made for children, and the trainers inside aren't too hard. But I made it to the end, and it was time to fight the man with the coolest fashion sense. Juan. He led with Love Disc, and I used left foot to take it out with 2 Shadow Balls, despite being confused. He then sent in Crawdon, who was OHKO'd by Urethra using a Sky Uppercut that crit. Balls came out to hopefully do something against Juan's Celios, as it's also an Ice type. And hey, he did a decent amount of damage before dying. Then I remembered Ice is weak to fighting, so I switched back into Urethra, who took out the Celio with 1 Sky Uppercut. So yeah, I might have wasted balls there. Oops. Next came out Juan's Ace Kingdra, and this was the hard part of the fight. I brought in left foot to hopefully set up on the Kingdra. I landed a Confuse Ray and got off a Will-O-Wisp to give it burn. Unfortunately, Kingdra then used Rest to remove the burn. It then got off a second double team, then took out left foot. I then brought in Queef, but got extremely unlucky as Queef was only able to get off 1 hit while Kingdra set up even more double team. I then brought in Urethra, who died to Ice Beam, and then Kingdra took out Head, and I whited. So I tried again. Same thing as last try. I took care of Love Disc with left foot, and Urethra got rid of Crawdon and Celia. Back out came Kingdra. I decided it was best to set up with Sexus to counter Kingdra's double team spam. Kingdra immediately started setting up with double teams, but I luckily hit 2 Mud Slaps in a row anyway. Kingdra switched to attacking, but missed, and I was able to hit another Mud Slap. Kingdra hit a Water Pulse, but Sexus held on and landed another Mud Slap, only missing 1 so far. Sexus then hit a 5th Mud Slap, then fell to another Water Pulse. But it was now a situation where Kingdra was hard to hit, but could barely hit anyone itself. I brought in left foot, who got Kingdra into yellow, but then it rested. I gave it burn again, but Kingdra killed left foot with an Ice Beam. Then I brought in Queef, who resisted Kingdra's attacks, but it used rest again to heal up. It then set up 3 more double teams. We then entered a deadlock of me spamming Mud Shot to also lower its speed. Kingdra would miss most of his attacks, and I would miss most of mine. Then the Kingdra rested when it got low. I eventually ran out of Mud Shot and had to switch to using Muddy Water and Surf. I decided to use an elixir to restore the PP for Mud Shot. Then I healed up Queef and went back at it. The deadlock continued as I ran out of Mud Shot again. I used a Revival Herb to revive left foot and brought him in. I kid you not, Kingdra then spammed double team, even though its evasionist couldn't go any higher, while I spammed Will-O-Wisp until I eventually hit it. Finally, it did, and Kingdra was burned. Then I doubled it up with a Confuse Ray and got extremely lucky by hitting 2 Shadow Balls in a row, bringing it down to low red, where the burn finally took care of it. The entire deadlock took like 7 real minutes, and I was holding down the fast forward button most of that time, so who knows how long it actually took. Juan sent out his last Pokemon Wish Cache, and I brought in Urethra. I quickly used Stun Spore to paralyze it, and 2 Mega Drains did the job. I got my 8th gym badge and was now able to use Waterfall outside of battle. All that was left was to go take on the Elite Four and the Champion. Now it was time to sail across the last section of ocean and up the waterfall to Evergrande City. I healed up my Pokemon and headed into Victory Road. This was it, the final spin of the run. After so many spins, it's finally led up to this one final spin. Let's see what I got. Even though I'm not going to use them and I don't need them, I feel like I have to do the last spin. I mean, come on. Okay. Last spin of the game. What will we get? I don't know, and I'm probably not going to use it. Oh my god. That's so fitting. I landed on Loudred, reminding me of Peak and Sausage, very important soldiers who I could not have gotten through the early game without. As much as the wheel has hated me this run, there's something poetic about this being what the last spin gave me. With Peak and Sausage in my mind, I pressed on into Victory Road. There was a surprise battle with Wally, but just like way back during our first battle, he was a complete pushover. I then pulled up maps off Bulbapedia to help me route through the caves because I'm an evil cheater. I ended up only having to go back and heal up 2 times, but none of the fights were too bad, and I emerged on the other side to see the Pokemon League. There was just one small problem. My team were mostly level 47 and 48, and the champion Wallace's ace is level 58, so I decided I would go by Nuzlocke rules and grind all my Pokemon up to level 58. This took about 2 hours real time, and I was holding down fast forward perhaps the entire time. Anyway, during that grind, I held Head back 1 level to evolve, since Snorunt learns Blizzard at 43, but Glalie learns it at 53. So I just evolved Head at level 43 instead of 42, so it would learn Blizzard earlier. But hey, Head is now well and truly ahead. Anyway, 2 hours of mind-numbingly boring grinding later, and there is my full and complete team ready to take on the Elite Four and Champion. Head, Sexist, Balls, Urethra, Left Foot, and Queef. I'm just now noticing that half my team's names are penis jokes, and I don't know what that says about me. Anyway, I don't have time to think about that. It's time to challenge the Pokemon League. First up was Sydney, the Dark-type user. He led with Mightyena, and I led with Urethra. Urethra made quick work of it with 2 Mach Punches. Next up was Absol, which Urethra disposed of with 1 Sky Uppercut. Next out was Shiftry, so I switched into Balls, who OHKO'd it with a Flamethrower. Then he set out Crawdaunt, so I brought back out Urethra, who hit another Sky Uppercut to take it out. Last up was Cacturn. Yeah, Balls made quick work of it with Flamethrower. They completely bodied this fight. Kind of funny how Urethra and Balls double-teamed Sydney. That's just kind of funny. Next up was Phoebe, the Ghost-type user. For this fight, I led with Head because it knows Crunch. She led with Dusclops and started Protect spamming after confusing me. Despite being really annoying, Head was able to take it out with 2 Crunches. She followed with another Dusclops that also went down to 2 Crunches, but brought Head down to yellow. I switched into Left Foot for her Banette. It missed a Will-O-Wisp and Shadow Ball OHKO'd it. She followed it up with another Banette, and this one hit Left Foot with a Shadow Ball to bring it to half, but Left Foot's Shadow Ball took this one out in 1 hit again. Then came her ace Sableye, who has no weaknesses in this generation. So I sent Queef out since she's neutral to spam Surf and waste her full restores. A few Surfs later and the Sableye went down. After her it was Glacia, the Ice-type user. I switched Balls to front for this one while she led with a Celio. Flamethrower did not do much, so I switched to Left Foot, which was a great switch since it cancelled out Celio's takedown as a Ghost type. I set up a Confuse Ray and used Shadow Ball to bring it to red. Celio hurt itself and barely survived, so I confused the Celio again as Glacia used full heal. I gave it burn as well, but hail was hurting me. Thankfully the Shadow Ball finished it off. I then brought back Balls for Glalie, who took it out with a Flamethrower. Next up was her ace Walrein, so I took a gamble and put out Urethra, who's weak to ice as a grass type, but is super effective against it as a fighting type. And since Walrein is a bit of a tank, I went for Sky Uppercut, and it nailed Walrein down to red, while it brought Urethra to red as well with an Ice Beam. But its berry brought it back to yellow, so Glacia didn't use a healing item, and I was able to use a Mach Punch to finish it off. She sent out her second Celio, and I sacked Urethra to use Mach Punch to bring it to half, since it always goes first. I then brought in Queef and used Surf to bring it to red. Glacia healed, and Queef used Earthquake and landed a critical hit to take it out. Last up was another Glalie, which Balls took out handily with a Flamethrower. Between this fight and the next, I quickly used my stash of revives and full restores to revive Urethra and heal up Head and Left Foot. Last of the Elite Four was Drake, the Dragon-type user. And I'm gonna be honest, Head absolutely bodied this fight. Shelgon, Ice Beam, dead. Flygon, Ice Beam, quad weak, dead. Salamence, Ice Beam, dead. Altaria, Ice Beam, quad weak, dead. Head had nearly swept this entire team, but last up was Kingdra, who's a dual water, so it could be a little bit more challenging since water resists ice. But Head came in clutch. I went for Blizzard for maximum damage and it hit, bringing Kingdra down to half. Then...
Should I go for another Blizzard or try to do a...
Go for it, go for it, go for it. What do you have to lose?
Head in the entire battle because he's setting up Swords Dance?
Look, if it hits, you're good.
Fine. Look, he just used Smokescreen.
That one's on you.
Oh! Oh! It hit!
Ye of little faith.
Even with the Smokescreen, it hit!
Head cleaned up Drake and put him in his back pocket. Didn't even take any damage. What an absolute unit. And now, it was finally time. Only one battle stood between me and completion, the champion Wallace. Everything has been mounting up to this, so I went in ready for perhaps the hardest fight of the game. Wallace is a water-type user with 2 very tanky water-type Pokémon in Wailord and Milotic, which will not be easy to take down. I walked up to Wallace and it was time for the final battle. I had Sexist out front while Wallace led with Wailord. I went for Iron Tail, but it didn't do much and Wailord took him down. I countered with Left Foot and confused the Wailord. Luckily, Wailord hurt itself down to half and a Shadow Ball brought it to red, getting Wallace to waste a full restore. I sent another Confuse Ray and Wailord hit a Blizzard and somehow only did like 40 damage. One Shadow Ball and then a second Shadow Ball which crit and a Wailord was down. Next up was Tentacruel, so I switched into Queef. Queef got poisoned but took out the Tentacruel with a single Earthquake. Then Wallace sent out Ludicolo, so I felt my best counter was Urethra. I started with a Stun Spore to paralyze it. I then landed a Sky Uppercut and brought it to yellow. A Mach Punch got Ludicolo into red and got Wallace to waste another healing item. I set up another Stun Spore on it and landed another Sky Uppercut that this time crit for the kill. Now came out his Milotic, which was easily the hardest part of the fight. Urethra brought it down to yellow and paralyzed it, but was taken down. I brought back out Left Foot to confuse the Milotic. Left Foot slowly chipped at the Milotic with Shadow Ball and continually confusing it. Unfortunately, Milotic was able to land another recover. The same thing then repeated again and again, but this time, a crit Shadow Punch got the Milotic Milotic down to 1 HP, but right then it snapped out of confusion and pulled off another recover. Unfortunately, when I got the Milotic down again to Shadow Ball kill range, Wallace used his last full restore. Now that the paralysis was gone, Milotic outsped and landed a really lucky crit surf on left foot, taking it down. I brought out Head and used Ice Beam, but Milotic hit another crit surf and took Head down to red. I sacked Head to revive left foot, and then sent in Queef to take some hits to heal up left foot and restore its PP. I switched back into left foot and set up Confuse Ray again while the Milotic poisoned me. I hit a Shadow Ball and brought it to yellow and used a full heal while the Milotic hurt itself in confusion. However, now that the Milotic wasn't paralyzed, it didn't have a status condition. You see, Wallace's Milotic has an ability that increases its defense when it has a status condition, but being confused doesn't count as a status condition. So one last Shadow Ball was able to finally take out the Milotic. It also crit, not that that mattered. Next up was Wish Cash. I brought out Balls to take a hit so I could revive Urethra. Balls went down and I sent out Urethra, who hit a Mega Drain and got it down to half. A second Mega Drain brought Wish Cash to 1 HP. It turns out Wallace actually had another full restore that he didn't use on Milotic and used it to bring Wish Cash back to full health. But 2 more Mega Drains and it was in the red again. I then used a Mach Punch to take it down. Finally, Wallace's last Mon was Gyarados. I kept Urethra out to take out the debuff from the Intimidate and take a hit to revive Head. Gyarados weirdly used Earthquake twice, letting me heal Head to full and use Stun Spore to paralyze the Gyarados. It then used Hyper Beam to take out Urethra, but in the process gave Head a free turn since Hyper Beam was a 1-turn cooldown. Head hit an Ice Beam to bring Gyarados to half, and a second brought it into the red.
Ice beam, ice beam.
But crunch. Head! 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 Yes! Yes!
And that was it. I had defeated Wallace and become champion. May and Professor Birch arrived to greet me, and I went with Wallace to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. After all the wheel spins and close battles, I made it to the end with my team: Queef, Urethra, Sexus, Balls, Left Foot, and Head. And when I think about it, this run really gave me a new affection for these Pokemon. In any normal run, I would have never used Glalie, Aggron, Macargo, or Dusclops. But now I have a special connection to all these Pokemon. I don't see them as just some Pokemon now. It's Head, Sexus, Balls, and Left Foot. My soldiers who helped me get through my first ever full playthrough of Emerald. Emerald's a game I've started so many times but was never able to finish. I love Sapphire and have played through that game so many times, and Gen 3 is such a special set of games to me personally. So to finally beat Emerald in such a way, truly bonding with new Pokemon, was really special to me, and I'm so happy I did it. I will never forget the insane journey I went on and the random ass team I had to assemble. I would love to do this again someday with Pokemon Platinum. Although maybe if I get more subscribers so I can stream it, so I don't have to play through it mostly alone, and I can share the crazy experience, because right now I only have 100 subscribers and they're all subscribed for the silly little video essays I've made, and probably won't be watching this video. But that's not what I'm about. This channel is just a place for me to make fun videos about whatever I feel like, and that's what I'm gonna do. So if you enjoyed and made it to the end, thank you so much for watching. It means a lot. I spent a lot of time making this video, and I'm so happy with how it turned out. And hey, if you enjoyed and have similar interests and want to see whatever random videos I put out next, feel free to stick around and subscribe. You don't have to, but it might be fun, who knows. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I'll be back next time. Goodbye.
Oh, do you want to see my team?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to see my team? They have a lot of names.
I figured as much. Show me. Left foot. What?
That's Left Foot.
Yes. Why is he left foot?
Oh, that's just because he's left foot.
Okay.
There's
And
not.
go back to Urethra.
Oh yeah, Urethra.
He doesn't look too narrow to me.
Well, that's because he used to be a shroomish, which has like a little pokey at the top.
Why is he a sexist though?
I don't know. The first time I saw him, he was just saying like really rude things about women. I don't know.
But he was a child when you met him.
Do you get it? I'm hilarious.
It's pretty self-explanatory.
I'm hilarious.
I'm gonna need some explanation on that one, bud.
Cool. It's like the first thing that came to mind.